Welcome into our Chicago studios for your Big Ten Hockey Report. I'm Michelle McMahon, joined by our hockey analyst Dan Kelly and Paul Caponegri, a new face standing in for Rick Pizzo. Guys, a couple of statement wins this weekend in the Big Ten. And Dan, Michigan State upsetting Penn State with some tenacious defense this weekend. Happy New Year's, hockey fans, and welcome into our Chicago studios for another edition of your Big Ten Hockey Report. Michelle McMahon here, joined by Dan the Man, who's fully bearded and all, and back with us today. Dan, thanks so much for joining. And my Wolfpack is back. Dan Kelly, Rick Pizzo. Guys, it's finally the end of the Big Ten conference season. Rick, one of the top three teams that you may have not expected to be there is Michigan State, but here they are taking the number 2 seed. Well, two big upsets means the Big Ten standings were certainly affected over the weekend as we take a look at where all those teams land. Number 15, Michigan, and number 17, Minnesota, tied up at first with 24 points. Michigan State and Penn State now tied in third with 22 points. Ohio State falling at number 5 with 9 points. Well, let's see how these teams got here, starting with the highlights from the weekend. Michigan State on Friday night at Munn Arena. A sweep for either team would give them the Big Ten title. Here's a big oopsies for the Wolverines. It went off the stick of Downing, and it would be a Keller goal. We're tied up 3-3, so 5 minutes left into the third. It would be Alex Kyle who drops one back for Andrew Kopp, picks it up, he finds Travis Lynch, who lights the lamp. Michigan takes the lead and wins 5-3 on Friday night. Well, it was a big sweep over the weekend and a pivotal point in the season, as we were talking earlier. So what was your message to your guys after the game? I was doing my due diligence, looking through all your accolades. I couldn't help but stumble upon a few images of your infamous mullet from the olden days, a little bit business in the front, party in the back action. So I have to ask you, if any circumstance, would there be any occasion that we would revisit and possibly see the mullet again?
I think that was back in my younger days. I think I had the mullet going because those are my years. I was coaching up in Alaska too, so got a little cold up there, so it was a way to keep my neck warm. That's the excuse I use.
A nice little blanket on the net. Well, you heard it here first. The return of the mullet to be determined. The return of Minnesota dominance. Well, they're well on their way. For head coach Don Lucia, Coach, thanks so much for joining us, and best of luck the rest of the way. Game. We start in the second period. Wisconsin down by 2 with a minute left, and it's Jack Doherty who goes upstairs. Wisconsin now down by 1. Into the third period we go. Minnesota on the power play, unleashing, and it's Taylor Camerata who gets the goal on the back door. It's a showdown then for the Big Ten in the GLI Championship as Michigan and Michigan State went head-to-head on Monday night, and it doesn't get much better than this in Joe Louis Arena. Into the first period we go. Andrew Kopp works his way down the ice and squeaks one through that. As if sweeping Minnesota wasn't enough, you earned your 800th win as head coach. So I want to take you back to Saturday night in the locker room when your guys were hailing to the victors in your honor. Personalize what that 800th win means to you. Well, all those accolades you mentioned, you basically achieved yourself. You were an All-American player, a former captain of the Wolverines, and now head coach for 31 seasons. So what does Michigan really mean to you? Well, you mentioned it, life after hockey. You've had the opportunity to shape so many young men's lives after coaching for 31 years at Michigan. So what is it like when you flip on the channel and the NHL game comes on and you see a lot of your Michigan alum having so much success at a high level? What is it like to know that you played a pivotal part in their young development? Well, I have one last little bit off-the-wall question for you. Your first real name is Gordon, as some may or may not know. And given my hair color, I'm intrigued where the nickname Red actually comes from, Coach.
Well, given my hair color right now, you never know, but I was a redhead. I was a freckled-faced redhead.
Minnesota pulling the huge sweep over Michigan last weekend. We pick it up in the first. A great give and go by Camerata to Rout, who finishes and gets his 150th career point. Minnesota goes up a goal. Into the second period now, Minnesota up by 3. Mike Riley wide open and sends a bullet. And a nice look by Boyd to set that one up. Riley, of course, on the execution. Minnesota goes up 4-0. Gopher fans certainly happy with this one. In the third period, Minnesota leaves 5-1. Kyle Rouse steals it and rips it far side. The senior captain earns a hat trick on the night and a huge victory for the Gophers, winning 6-2 on Friday night.
They call you Red. And I looked at them sarcastically and I said, well, because I'm a communist, and very seriously. And they all started writing on their notepads like, boy, it must be true. I never said that again.
That one didn't go over quite well. We have a lot in common, actually, because my nickname used to be Red, but usually it was when I was getting in trouble with my father, who was the main one that called me Red. But at the third period, we go Michigan State searching for answers, and they get a spark of hope from Rhett Holland, who rips one from the point and goal for the Spartans. It wouldn't be enough, though. Michigan would go on to win 2-1. So the 2014 GLI champions are crowned, and the Wolverines earn their 16th GLI title. And Michigan not only pulls the upset against Michigan Tech, but also pulls a win against Michigan State in the pressure situation of the championships, but they did it without their 4-star players. I'm happy to join in the goaltender of that team, Jake Hildebrand, who also earned first star of the week this week. Jake, what was your team's reaction when you learned that Michigan and Minnesota both lost on Saturday to propel you guys to the top? So I was doing some Twitter investigation on you, and one of your teammates, Sorensen, posted a video, a TBT video, of when Ferentino took you out at a post-game celebration against Ohio State. What's it like to get decked by your own teammate?
I think everybody is just so excited. Tino's one of the first guys off the bench usually after a win, and come over and give me a big.
Well, that'll do it for us here on the Big Ten Hockey Report. Thanks so much for joining us. For Paul, Dan, and myself, we'll check in with you with all your updates for next week.